All right, then let's talk photography now. Lois Lebegue is here. He's the managing director for a number of different countries, Asia, Latin America, regions, I should say, not just countries. Middle East, Africa. You're a vice president at Eastman Kodak. And it's good of you to come to see us. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hello, Alex. Hello, team.
You're very welcome. Now, look, you're here for print and pack, aren't you, ostensibly?
Right.
But I wanted to start by talking to you a little bit about Kodak, because Kodak is synonymous with photography. A Kodak moment to many people is that ideal photographic experience, that ideal time to take a picture. So something like that, something so familiar to so many people, to have undergone such a transformation. Alex and I were talking a few moments ago about the last time we put a roll of film in a camera. George Eastman, the Eastman Kodak company, he's the guy that invented film back in 1888. What's it like working for a company that's been so important in providing memories to so many people?
I mean, it's really interesting to talk about photography. And by the way, Alex, I'm sorry if you have ugly pictures. It's not Kodak's fault, okay? I mean, I'm sure you don't have that many, actually.
They're just because they're all selfies, that's why.
It's difficult to take a selfie with the old cameras in the past. I mean, it's clear that photography is a very big part of Kodak history and legacy. Kodak is the company that, as you said, invented the first roll of film, invented the first point and shoot, the famous press the button. Press the button, we do the rest.
The early 60s, wasn't it? Yeah.
Interesting, concept from George Eastman. We invented the famous Kodak-Chrome that was also, a song from very, famously known. We invented, you were talking about the voyage on Mars. We invented the first camera going to the moon. Mm-hmm. And we invented the first, digital camera, mind you. And if you think about that, all this legacy today, you still see it in films. When you go to the movie and you watch movies like Foxcatcher or The Grand Budapest Hotel from Wes Anderson, you watch Boyhood of Richard Linklater, you go watch Interstellar again, Voyage on Mars and even beyond. All these are shot on film. So film is a technology that remains pretty strong in some segments. And what is really interesting is when you talk about Interstellar, a guy like Chris Nolan, who's the director of Interstellar, says film is oak, digital is plywood.
He demanded Kodak stock, didn't he, for Interstellar?
We signed very recently an agreement with the 6 major studios in Hollywood to keep film alive and keep managing and manufacturing film, because these big guys, they want to shoot their movies in film. They say their stories cannot be as vibrant and relevant as they are today for all of us if there was not the film.
Is that because digital technology just isn't that advanced at this stage? Do you think we're still going to have film in 10, 20 years when digital technology catches up?
It's very difficult to say, how long it's going to last.
Yeah.
And I think that we made predictions that came pretty wrong in the past, and that's part of the reason why we had ups and downs. But I believe that take a movie like Boyhood, shot over 12 years, impossible to do it in digital. If you think about that, Linklater said, if I had shot the first one 12 years ago on one format, I would never have been capable of transferring it. And you were talking about what you do with all your pictures and your computer and your smartphone. That's the problem, and we need to go step by step with the technology and invent smarter ways to share those images, not only over the internet, but go to your parents. And I live in Singapore, my parents live in France, and I have to bring them albums, and I need to find a good way to print them.
I mean, anybody who has a digital or a 4K or an Ultra HD TV or has moved to that, you can see the difference when you move to that platform, because it just looks different. Film is a different experience to watch. And you're right, Boyhood is a good example. Interstellar, The Imitation Game, those are all big movies very recently, all shot on Kodak film stock. That's part of it. So you mentioned there the invention of the digital camera. You guys, Kodak did that back in 1975, first digital camera. Product was dropped, though, because it threatened the photographic film business. That was one of the reasons at the time. Perhaps we weren't ready for that. But it was kind of the start, wasn't it, I suppose, of the ups and downs that you referred to, Lois?
Yeah, I think it's a technology that we were probably a little bit too advanced and pioneering, and probably not been able to to perhaps market it the right way over time. But what is really interesting when you look at it is that this technology of of digital imaging, combined with the technology of making films, which is depositing substrate on a surface, whether it's plastic or paper, is something that we're using every day today to develop the product of Kodak's today's businesses. And that's really interesting because you were talking about Kodak being the trusted guardian of the family's memories, which was our role for 100 and perhaps 110, 120 years. Where are we today in people's life is very different, but we're using the same core technologies to be in everybody's life today when you read a newspaper, when you open a book, when you go through a magazine, when you buy product to the supermarket, whether it's goods or foods, the packaging is very likely having been touched by Kodak technology inside. Tomorrow you'll have a cell phone, a tablet, a wearable item that will use Kodak technology to create new, faster, lighter, brighter touch screens. All these, where we are today, and that's why we're here with Gulf Print and Pack as an example, in the printing industry. All these applications and all these segments of businesses are coming from the core technology of making a film or making a digital image.
Because you're very well placed and you have these systems, these technologies, these patents in place now. Touchscreen technology, let's take that as an example. You have new advancements that are going to take that forward, hopefully make that cheaper, hopefully make it more effective. That's an area that's key to you, isn't it?
Absolutely. The technology that we're using to make very different ways of manufacturing, designing and manufacturing touchscreens is again a technology that is coming from the printing industry and our intellectual properties and patents there, and it's a different way of lining out a mesh of conducive material on a film that goes on a touchscreen. Today your smartphone tablets are made with a very rare material called ITO, indium tin oxide, that is extremely expensive, fragile, and less and less in the world, and we need to come with a different technology, and we're using for that materials that are easier to find and cheaper, like copper or silver. And we'll be able to make much bigger touch screens with higher conductivity and more efficiency, with lower need for batteries, lighter and more powerful. So that's typical example of the direction the company is taking, which is more technology oriented and a little bit more business to business, although we like to call ourselves business to people because we are there in everybody's life.
We see that's what's really interesting to me about Kodak. I was a keen amateur photographer for a long time. I'm very aware of Kodak. I grew up with Kodak and sending films off to be developed. You get them back, there'd be great excitement. Most of them would be complete nonsense. But if you got 1 out of 36 or 1 out of 24, happy.
Success.
It was all fine. But so Kodak was almost part of so many people. It was actually an important part of many people's lives. And it was very easy to pin Kodak down and say, the film company, the photo people, the camera people. How would you describe Kodak now?
I think we're still an imaging team, but we're in a different kind of imaging. We talk imaging as of packaging and movies and print and industrial packaging and so on. And when we look at this, the way we are in everyday's life of people is, let me give you an example that is coming from Dubai.
Please.
Masar is a very big company printing belonging to Dubai media industry. And they are building the capacity today with Kodak technology to print for every one of us a personalized newspaper every morning. Imagine the capacity that you do with print associated with big data, and you can create and you can be your own editor-in-chief of your own newspaper that will come to your mailbox every morning.
And this is what we're talking about, with me saying I couldn't even be bothered now to print off an album and then send it to my family back home. This is direct from you. I mean, it's a much more direct way of being personable.
Exactly. The word today is asking for personalization and customization of everything we do.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we're facing an enormous amount of offers that are given to us, but are given the same way to you and me. And it's not always very relevant to what we want to do. And everything is coming and needs to come with more customization, whether it's a product that you shop in the supermarket, whether it's the newspaper that you read, whether it's your obviously photo album, because this is really personal. But the idea that we have and where we are very strong today and in the future is the capacity again to mix the incredible power of big data with the incredible relevance and vibrance of print, and mix the two to make something that will have a sense for you that will be different than for you. And this is really important.
There's something about, even now, isn't there, something physically printed in your hand. I can't quite put my finger on it, put my hand on it, as it were, but there is something about that. Let's just finish off. We've run out really short of time, unfortunately, but you're here for Gulf Print and Pack. Bearing in mind all the things that you've said, what are you showcasing here? What are you going to be doing while you're here in Dubai as Kodak?
So we Gulf Print and Pack is a very big regional show that is really showcasing printing industry and packaging industry. So what we're showing today in the expo is, a lot of new technologies that can allow printers to be more relevant, as Massar example with the personalized newspapers, but also providing food and goods companies with the best and most vibrant packaging solutions that will also help them to track and trace, which is giving us more safety on what we eat and what we drink and what we buy. And at the same time, offering technologies that are responding to a new need for the market. You were talking about, the print and what we want to have in our hands. Do you know that for the first time in many years, printed books volume grew year over year in 2014? Everybody talks about readers, e-readers, read on your smartphones, etc. People like print, and people think prints have a very strong part of our daily life. We showcase during Gulf Print and Pack a machine that can print a novel in 2 seconds. And when you do this, you print on demand. You cut less trees because you have to print less quantities at one time, and you can reprint every time you need. The Amazon type of businesses. So Kodak is very relevant for the printing industry, for the packaging industry, and we will be in people's life for many years to come.
It's good to hear, because after inventing film in 1888, let's just run through some of the things here. The first pocket camera, Kodachrome, color reversal stock film for movies, slide film. The Instamatic, 1963, the great Instamatic. The digital camera in 1975, and a lot of people won't know that the Apple QuickTake was the first ever consumer digital camera. Debuted by Apple in 1994. That was manufactured by Kodak, wasn't it?
Yep.
There you go. It's a lot to talk about. There's a lot more that we should have kept you here for, but we're out of time. Yeah. Lois Lebegue is Managing Director, Asia, Latin America, and the Middle East, Africa, Vice President, Eastman Kodak Company, here for Gulf Print and Pack. Lois, it's been a great pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.